It's the same reason that batteries have a positive end and a negative end. You essentially have to isolate the electricity in order for it to flow once you plug it into a completed circuit, right? And so that's what's happening inside of our cells. It's isolating or it's separating these charges so that ultimately, when it comes into contact with various proteins or biochemical processes, it can help to facilitate electron flow. That's what biochemistry is, right? It's basically an exchange of electrons all the way throughout. This is electron flow that gets stimulated. And we now know that water plays a huge role in that because of its ability to charge separate. So water maintains this healthy interior cellular charge. It also helps to allow for electron flow for biochemical processes, what we would call redox reactions. And it also, because it's gelled, it helps proteins and receptors maintain the appropriate configuration. The gel provides the structure so that a receptor, receptors rely on a correct shape, proteins rely on to have to be the correct shape to be functioning optimally. So if all of a sudden a protein is not optimal because it doesn't have adequate exclusion zone water, now when we do strategies that we'll talk about in a second that maintain this exclusion zone water or boost it, the gel can reform, and all of a sudden we now have functioning proteins and receptors again because they're in their correct configuration. And the way that what you alluded to earlier was our interaction with sunlight, because Dr. Pollack's lab found that when we apply specific wavelength frequencies of light to the body or to even a petri dish, right, studying this in the lab, that the exclusion zone can expand. And the wavelength range is infrared light, specifically around the 3000 nanometer mark, which is on the cusp kind of around mid to far infrared. And that wavelength range then will, when it's being penetrates our bodies or it is shown onto a petri dish, that exclusion zone expands fourfold or more. So all of a sudden we've got more negative charge. We've got more potential charge separation. So that's potential energy, like a battery, if you will. And then that just also maintains that healthy cellular environment because the voltage, that charge inside of the cell determines even things like how well oxygen is going to be able to diffuse and be delivered into the cell. So, I mean, it really is everything in my opinion.